What if I told you that some of the world's most famous celebrities have vanished into thin air, without a single clue left behind? Over the years, these disappearances have ignited media firestorms, triggered desperate searches, and unleashed a tidal wave of conspiracy theories. From stars who vanished on the high seas to chilling murder mysteries and shocking betrayals, these cases continue to haunt us decades later. Families still demand answers. Fans still search for closure. And the only thing everyone can agree on? No one truly knows what happened. One moment they were here, the next they were gone, without a trace. Here are 20 jaw-dropping stories of celebrities who mysteriously disappeared and never came back. Number 1. Shaun Flynn wasn't just the son of swashbuckling Hollywood legend Errol Flynn. He was a fearless soul in search of something far greater than fame. Born into the glitz of old Hollywood, Shaun had every door open to him. He made his acting debut at just 15 on the Errol Flynn Theatre, stepping onto the screen under the weight of his father's legacy. But the limelight never fulfilled him. He didn't want to be just another name riding on a famous pedigree. He wanted purpose. He wanted truth. So, he walked away from the movie sets and into the heart of danger, trading scripts for a camera and becoming a war photojournalist. Shaun wasn't chasing headlines. He was chasing humanity, risking his life to capture the raw, brutal realities of war that others were too afraid to face. On April 6, 1970, while covering the Vietnam War in Cambodia, Shaun and fellow journalist Dana Stone set out on motorcycles toward a press conference near Saigon. They never made it. Ambushed and captured by Viet Cong forces, both men vanished without a trace. Despite countless investigations and desperate searches, their bodies were never found. No final message. No closure. To this day, Shaun Flynn's disappearance remains one of the most chilling mysteries of the Vietnam War. Was he executed? Did he perish in captivity? Or is there another story the world has yet to uncover? Whatever the truth may be, Shaun's legacy lives on, a haunting reminder of the risks journalists take to show the world what it refuses to see. Number 2. Richie Edwards, the vanishing poet of rock. Richie Edwards, the brilliant yet tormented guitarist and lyricist of the Welsh alternative rock band Manic Street Preachers, vanished without a trace on February 1, 1995, and his disappearance remains one of music's most haunting unsolved mysteries. Known for his raw, poetic lyrics and brutally honest interviews, Richie channeled his inner turmoil into songs that spoke to the broken, the lost, and the misunderstood. For him, music wasn't fame, it was survival. On the day he was set to board a flight to the US with his bandmates for a promotional tour, Richie simply disappeared. His car was later discovered abandoned near the Severn Bridge, a place tragically linked to suicide, igniting fears he had taken his own life. But no body was ever found. No note. No final goodbye. In the years since, his story has become the stuff of legend. Some claim they've seen him alive in far-flung corners of the world, from Goa, India, to the Canary Islands, sparking rumors that he may have walked away from the chaos of fame to begin again in silence. Was it a cry for help, or a quiet escape? No one truly knows. But what is certain is this: Richie Edwards left behind more than just questions. He left behind a legacy of fearless art, painful beauty, and a mystery that still lingers in the hearts of fans, family, and fellow musicians alike. Now, let's move on to the next name on our list. Number 3. Jimmy Hoffa, the man who rose from the factory floor to the top of America's most powerful labor union. Smart, fearless, and relentless, Hoffa started as a union organizer and, by 1958, had clawed his way to the presidency of the Teamsters, the largest and most influential labor union in the United States. But with power came shadows. The Teamsters were infamous for their ties to corruption, and Hoffa was no stranger to controversy. For years, federal agents stalked his every move, determined to expose the dark underbelly of the union. In 1964, their moment came. Hoffa was convicted of jury tampering and other charges, landing him behind bars. Yet even in prison, whispers swirled that Hoffa was still pulling the strings from the inside. In 1971, President Richard Nixon commuted his sentence, but with one major catch: Hoffa was barred from any union activity. a condition he had no intention of honoring. Then came July 30th, 1975. Hoffa was last seen outside a Detroit area restaurant, reportedly meeting with 2 Teamster officials. He never made it home. His car was discovered in the parking lot, but Hoffa himself had vanished. No body, no witnesses, no answers. What happened next became one of the most haunting mysteries in American history. Was Hoffa silenced by the mob, afraid he was making a comeback? Or did he know too much about the dirty secrets buried deep within the Union's ranks? Declared legally dead in 1982, Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance remains one of the most chilling, unsolved cases of the 20th century. His name still sparks conspiracy theories, Hollywood scripts, and endless speculation. Because when power, loyalty, and betrayal collide, legends are born, and some never die. Number 4. Barbara Newhall Follett wasn't just a child author, she was a literary prodigy. At the age of 12, she stunned the world with The House Without Windows, a novel filled with lush, poetic imagery that captured the raw beauty of nature. By 14, she had cemented her reputation with a second novel, The Voyage of the Normandy, further establishing her as a voice wise beyond her years. A true child of the wild, Barbara's writing pulsed with her deep, almost spiritual connection to the natural world. But her life took a heartbreaking turn. When her father abandoned the family, Barbara was thrust into financial turmoil. Still, she refused to give up her passion. During the Great Depression, she worked as a secretary by day and wrote by night, chasing the spark that once made her a literary sensation. In 1931, she found new joy with Nickerson Rogers, sharing adventures along the Appalachian Trail and exploring the world together. They married in 1934, but the dream soon cracked. By 1938, Barbara suspected her husband of betrayal. Then, in 1939, at just 25 years old, she walked out of her home and vanished without a trace. To this day, no one knows what happened to her. A brilliant young woman, lost to history, her story remains one of the most haunting literary mysteries of the 20th century, a legacy of genius, sorrow, and endless questions. Number 5. Michael Rockefeller, the heir who vanished into the unknown. Michael Rockefeller, the youngest son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, wasn't just born into privilege, he was driven by a relentless curiosity and a thirst for adventure. In 1961, that passion led him deep into the untamed heart of New Guinea, drawn by the rich and mysterious art of the Asmat people. But what began as a cultural expedition soon spiraled into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. While traveling by pontoon boat through rough waters, Michael's vessel capsized, leaving him and a Dutch companion stranded miles from shore. As their local guides paddled off in search of help, the hours dragged on. Then, with hope fading and rescue nowhere in sight, Michael made a daring choice. He dove into the open sea and began the 12-mile swim toward land. It was a decision fueled by courage, and it would be the last anyone ever saw of him. At first, it was believed he had drowned in the unforgiving waves. But whispers soon began to spread. Could he have survived the swim, only to meet a far more chilling fate at the hands of the Asmat, a tribe known for their intricate rituals, including headhunting and spiritual warfare? Despite massive search efforts and decades of speculation, Michael Rockefeller's disappearance remains shrouded in mystery. Did he succumb to the sea, or did he survive, only to vanish into the shadows of a remote world untouched by time? His story continues to haunt and fascinate, a ghostly echo of a young man who dared to chase the unknown and never came back. Number 6. Jimmy "Sweet Sweet" Robinson, the boxer who vanished without a trace. Jimmy "Sweet Sweet" Robinson was more than just a journeyman boxer from Miami. He was the kind of fighter who'd step into the ring at a moment's notice, a dependable stand-in when others backed out. Though he never held a title, he earned a place in boxing history in 1961 when he faced a rising young talent named Cassius Clay, who the world would later know as Muhammad Ali. Their bout was short, lasting just one round, with Robinson knocked out swiftly by the future legend. Still, that brief moment under the lights became his legacy. Robinson continued to fight through the 1960s, retiring quietly in 1969. But once he left the ring, he disappeared from the spotlight entirely. The last known photo of him was snapped in 1979, along with a rare interview that offered only a glimpse into his modest, almost hidden life after boxing. Since then, he's become something of a ghost. No one knows what happened to him. No public records. No obituary. No confirmed death. Just silence. Did Jimmy walk away from fame by choice, yearning for peace and anonymity? Or did life deal him one final, cruel blow that left him forgotten? Whatever the truth, his story lingers like a shadow, part triumph, part tragedy. In a sport filled with legends, Robinson is the forgotten mystery, a man who once stood toe-to-toe with greatness, only to vanish into thin air. Number 7. Zoe Mlelen, once a rising star known for her powerful roles in Designated Survivor and NCIS, suddenly vanished from the spotlight, but not before becoming the center of a real-life legal thriller. In May 2021, an arrest warrant was issued for her in Los Angeles County on charges that sounded like something straight out of a courtroom drama: child custody deprivation, kidnapping, and child stealing. The accusations came from her ex-husband, J.P. Gilline, during a bitter custody battle that had been simmering since 2017. The controversy erupted when Zoe allegedly took their 4-year-old son, Sebastian, to Toronto without Gillen's permission, a move he claimed was malicious and illegal. But the story doesn't end there. Supporters of Zoe argue she was acting out of desperation, pointing to past allegations of abuse she made against Gilline, suggesting she may have simply been trying to protect her son at all costs. Since April 2019, Zoe has disappeared from public life. No interviews, no film credits, no trace. Rumors swirl that she may be living under a new identity, trying to outrun both the legal system and relentless media attention. Her vanishing act has sparked fierce debate among fans. Some view her as a devoted mother doing what she believed was right, while others see her as someone who crossed legal lines. What's real and what's rumor? That's the question no one can answer. Zoe Mlelen's story is a haunting blend of celebrity intrigue and unresolved legal drama, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a mystery that may never be fully solved. Number 8. Scott Smith. Scott Smith, the gifted bassist of the legendary Canadian rock band Loverboy, was more than just a musician. He was the heartbeat behind classics like Working for the Weekend and Turn Me Loose. As the band rose to international fame, it was Scott's driving bass lines that helped define their iconic sound. But in December 2000, tragedy struck. What began as a serene sailing trip off the coast of San Francisco turned into a nightmare. While at the helm of his sailboat, a monstrous 25-foot wave crashed into the vessel, capsizing it and sweeping Scott overboard. Panic set in as his crewmates launched a desperate rescue effort. Authorities quickly joined the search, but the unforgiving Pacific, with its brutal currents and icy depths, offered no mercy. Scott Smith was never found. His sudden disappearance left the music world in shock. Fans mourned not just the loss of a musician, but of a warm, adventurous soul who lived life to the fullest. Though he vanished without a trace, Scott's spirit endures, forever embedded in the rhythms of Loverboy's music and the hearts of those who loved him. His story remains one of rock and roll's great unsolved tragedies. Next on our list is a child star who vanished without a single clue. Number: Joe Pitler. Once a rising star in Hollywood, Joe Pitler captured hearts with his roles in the Beethoven movies and Varsity Blues. But in January 2006, his light vanished without a trace, leaving behind a haunting mystery that still lingers to this day. After stepping away from the spotlight, Joe returned to his hometown of Bremerton, Washington, hoping to live a quieter, more grounded life. But on the night of January 5th, everything changed. He made a deeply unsettling phone call to a friend. His voice shaken, emotional, and reportedly intoxicated. Just hours later, Joe was gone. His car was discovered abandoned, and inside it, a note that hinted at emotional pain and a heartfelt wish to be a better brother. Despite tireless efforts from family, friends, and authorities, Joe was never seen again. Some believe he walked away from his past, trying to escape the pressures of childhood fame. Others fear something far darker may have happened. To this day, Joe Pitler's disappearance remains one of Hollywood's most heartbreaking unsolved cases, a chilling reminder of how easily a life can vanish, and how fame offers no protection from inner battles. Number 10. Amelia Heheart, the sky's boldest mystery. Amelia Heheart wasn't just a pilot, she was a trailblazer, a symbol of fearless ambition in a world where women were rarely seen in the cockpit. As the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, she shattered glass ceilings at 30,000 feet, becoming a global icon of courage and determination. But her legacy wasn't only built on skill, it was her unbreakable spirit and thirst for the unknown that truly set her apart. Then, on July 2, 1937, during her daring attempt to fly around the world, Amelia vanished. She and her navigator, Fred Noonan, were en route to the remote Howland Island in the Pacific when their plane disappeared without a trace. Radio contact was lost. Fuel was running low. And just like that, the world never heard from her again. What followed was one of the most gripping unsolved mysteries in aviation history. Decades of theories, searches, and speculation have tried to answer the same haunting question: what really happened to Amelia Heheart? In the 1940s, a glimmer of hope surfaced. Skeletal remains were found on the desolate island of Newh. The bones reportedly matched Amelia's build, suggesting she may have crash-landed and died a castaway. But those remains mysteriously vanished, leaving nothing but unanswered questions and a sea of possibilities. Was she lost to the waves, or did she survive, stranded and alone on a forgotten island? We may never know. But one thing is certain: Amelia Heart's legacy soars far beyond her final flight. She remains a beacon of inspiration, defiance, and mystery, a woman who dared to chase the sky. Number 11. Connie Converse, the vanished genius who was decades ahead of her time. Born Elizabeth Eaton Converse, Connie Converse is now recognized as one of the first true modern singer-songwriters, a visionary who helped lay the groundwork for a genre that wouldn't catch on until years later. But she was more than just a musician. She was a gifted composer, poet, and writer, an artist whose depth and sensitivity bled into every word and note she created. Yet despite her brilliance, the world never gave her the recognition she deserved. In the summer of 1974, after years of personal and professional heartbreak, Connie quietly packed her belongings into her Volkswagen Beetle and disappeared. No note. No goodbye. Just gone, without a trace. Her journey to that vanishing point was riddled with pain. Professionally, her groundbreaking music was rejected by the industry. Personally, she struggled with her identity as a lesbian in an unforgiving era, feeling estranged from a society and even a family that never truly accepted her. Her religious parents offered no support, and the isolation she felt grew deeper. When the journal she worked for relocated to Yale University and she lost her job, it was the final straw. She vanished, and despite desperate searches and even hiring a private investigator, no trace was ever found. The investigator later told her family, "She doesn't want to be found. It's time to let go." To this day, no one knows what happened to Connie Converse. But her music, rediscovered decades later, endures. Long before Joni Mitchell or Bob Dylan, Connie was already weaving soul-stirring, confessional songs that still resonate. She may have vanished from the world, but her haunting voice remains, a reminder that sometimes the most groundbreaking artists live in silence and leave behind legacies we're only just beginning to understand. Number 12. Jim Thompson wasn't just another businessman, he was a mystery wrapped in silk. A former operative with the Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA, Thompson had a sharp eye for opportunity and an even sharper mind for strategy. After World War II, he relocated to Thailand, where he single-handedly resurrected the country's dying silk industry. With bold vision and unmatched taste, he transformed Thai silk into a global sensation, earning the nickname the Silk King, and turning his name into a symbol of luxury and elegance. But in March 1967, during what seemed like an ordinary vacation to Malaysia, Jim Thompson vanished without a trace. He took a solitary walk into the jungle and never came back. Despite massive search efforts, tracking dogs, and an international manhunt, not a single clue was ever found. It was as if he had dissolved into the air. Whispers quickly turned into wild theories. Some believed he had been assassinated by communist insurgents. After all, Malaysia was in the throes of political conflict, and Thompson's ties to US intelligence made him a possible target. Others speculated that he staged his own disappearance, slipping into the shadows for reasons still unknown. To this day, his fate remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. Was he silenced for what he knew? Or did he choose to vanish forever? One thing is certain, Jim Thompson's name still echoes in the silk-lined corridors of history, a legend built on brilliance, and a disappearance that may never be explained. Number 13. Jim Sullivan, the musician who vanished into thin air. Jim Sullivan was more than just a struggling singer-songwriter. He was a dreamer chasing the ever-elusive spotlight. After pouring his soul into 2 studio albums in Los Angeles, neither of which made the splash he'd hoped for, Sullivan set his sights on Nashville, the beating heart of country music. He believed it was his last shot at stardom. But fate had other plans. In March of 1975, while driving toward that fresh start, Sullivan pulled into a motel in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, planning to rest before the final leg of his journey. He checked in, but never spent the night. By morning, he was gone. Days later, his car was discovered abandoned on a remote ranch 26 miles away. Everything was still inside: his wallet, guitar, clothes, and even his beloved records. But Jim? He had completely vanished. No struggle. No witnesses. No goodbyes. Speculation ran wild. Some whispered about foul play. Others believed he wandered into the desert, consumed by personal demons or mental turmoil. But one theory stood out, eerie and almost supernatural. Could Jim Sullivan have been taken by something not of this world? His first album was hauntingly titled UFO, and after his disappearance, fans couldn't help but wonder, was it a coincidence or a chilling premonition? Despite exhaustive searches, no trace of Jim Sullivan was ever found. No clues. No closure. Just silence, and a voice captured forever in his music. To this day, his disappearance remains one of the most haunting mysteries in music history. Next on our list is another tale of sudden disappearance. This time, a basketball star who walked into the Malaysian jungle and was never seen again. But first, let Jim Sullivan's story echo in your mind. A man whose music still lingers, even as he vanished without a trace. Number 14. Bison Delhi, the vanishing of an NBA star. Bison Delhi wasn't your typical NBA player. A gifted athlete with a free spirit, he was known just as much for his offbeat, adventurous lifestyle as for his prowess on the court. Delhi walked away from fame and fortune at the height of his career, choosing instead a life of exploration, art, and self-discovery. But in July 2002, that journey took a dark and mysterious turn, one that has haunted the world of sports ever since. Delhi, his girlfriend Serena Carlin, his brother Miles Dabord, and the boat's captain, Bertrand Saldo, set sail on his catamaran, Hakuna Matata, into the tranquil blue of the South Pacific. It was supposed to be a peaceful escape. Instead, it became a nightmare. Almost 2 weeks after they left port, only one man returned, Miles. He came back to Tahiti alone. The rest of the group had vanished without a trace. Authorities quickly uncovered disturbing clues. Miles had forged Bison's signature on financial documents in an attempt to buy gold. The Hakuna Matata was found with its name painted over, bullet holes patched, and its identifying features altered. Suspicion turned to Miles. Before police could arrest him, he fled to Mexico, and then, in a shocking twist, overdosed on insulin. He died in a California hospital days later, taking with him the chilling truth of what really happened at sea. To this day, the fate of Bison Delhi, Serena Carlin, and Bertrand Saldo remains a mystery. Some believe a violent altercation erupted on board. Others suspect cold-blooded, premeditated murder. The theory? That Miles killed them and used weights to send their bodies to the ocean floor, ensuring they would never be found. Bison Delhi's disappearance stands as one of the most haunting unsolved cases in sports history. A man who once soared so high vanished into silence, leaving behind a legacy of brilliance, tragedy, and unanswered questions that still echo across the waves. Number 15. Rico Harris, the vanishing of a basketball giant. In the year 2000, Rico Harris seemed destined for greatness. Standing tall at 6 feet 9 inches, he was a powerhouse on the court, a top 100 college recruit with NBA dreams, and later, a member of the legendary Harlem Globetrotters. But behind the dazzling moves and bright lights, Rico was fighting a darker battle. His struggle with alcohol slowly unraveled the future that once seemed unstoppable. After stepping away from basketball, Rico took a job as a security guard in Los Angeles. But the demons he tried to outrun caught up with him again. In 2014, after being fired for showing up to work intoxicated, Rico, now 37, decided it was time for a fresh start. He packed his things and set out on a road trip to Seattle, hoping to begin a new chapter with his girlfriend. But what began as a hopeful journey ended in haunting silence. Rico's car was later found abandoned near Sacramento. His wallet and personal belongings were still inside. His backpack and phone were discovered nearby on the roadside. Friends weren't immediately alarmed. Rico had a habit of disappearing for a few days when life became too much. But this time felt different. He'd been acting strangely before the trip, they said. Distant. Troubled. Then came the eerie reports. A few witnesses claimed they saw a large man, matching Rico's towering frame, wandering along State Route 16, close to where his car had been found. Footprints were discovered in the sand nearby, but they led nowhere, vanishing into the wilderness like a ghost. Some believe Rico may have hitched a ride with a stranger. Others think he may have simply walked off the grid. The Los Angeles Times speculated that he could have continued his journey, but why he never called, never checked in, remains a mystery. For a man once destined for stardom, Rico Harris's disappearance feels like a story left unfinished. A life that soared so high, only to vanish on a lonely stretch of highway. To this day, the question still echoes. What happened to Rico Harris? No one knows. And maybe no one ever will. Number 16. Ambrose Beers, the writer who vanished into thin air. Ambrose Beers wasn't just a writer, he was a storm of intellect, sarcasm, and mystery. A Civil War veteran turned fearless satirist, Beers made his mark as a newspaper columnist whose razor-sharp wit lit up the pages of the San Francisco Examiner. Through his legendary column The Prattler and his darkly humorous masterpiece The Devil's Dictionary, he skewered politics, society, and human nature with chilling precision. But his brilliance didn't stop there. His short stories, many drawn from his harrowing experiences on Civil War battlefields, offered hauntingly vivid glimpses into the chaos and carnage of war. Born in 1842, Beers's life was as complex as his writing. Behind the acclaim lay a man scarred by personal tragedy. Though he married and had 3 children, heartbreak followed. 2 of his children died young, and his family life slowly unraveled. Then, in 1913, at the age of 71, Ambrose Beers made a move no one saw coming. He vanished. Telling friends he was heading to Mexico to witness the revolution led by Pancho Villa, Beers crossed the border and was never seen again. His last known words came in a letter, chillingly casual. As to me, I leave here tomorrow for an unknown destination. What happened next is a mystery that has baffled historians for over a century. Some believe he was executed by rebels. Others say he died of illness or misadventure. And then there are the legends that he faked his death or disappeared as the ultimate act of satire. Whatever the truth, Ambrose Beers didn't just walk off into the sunset, he walked into legend. To this day, the disappearance of Ambrose Beers remains one of literature's greatest unsolved riddles. But his words, as sharp and defiant as ever, still echo through time, reminding us that even in death, some stories are never truly finished. Number 17. Lord Lucan, the vanishing aristocrat. John Bingham, better known as Lord Lucan, was a dashing British aristocrat whose life unraveled into chaos and mystery. On the night of November 7, 1974, he vanished without a trace following a chilling act of violence at the home of his estranged wife, Veronica. Amid a bitter custody battle and drowning in financial ruin, Lucan allegedly attacked Veronica and brutally murdered their nanny, Sandra Rivet, in a horrifying case that shocked the nation. Veronica, bloodied but alive, managed to escape and raise the alarm. But by the time authorities arrived, Lucan had disappeared into the night. His car was later discovered abandoned, with damning evidence inside, but Lucan himself was gone. Just like that, one of Britain's most recognizable faces became its most elusive fugitive. In the decades since, alleged sightings have surfaced from Australia to Africa, sparking endless rumors, conspiracy theories, and books. Was he living in exile under a new identity? Or did he take his own life and succeed in hiding the evidence forever? To this day, Lord Lucan's disappearance remains one of the most gripping unsolved mysteries in modern history, a tale of privilege, murder, and a man who seemingly vanished off the face of the earth. Number 18. Jean Spangler was a rising starlet and dancer whose promising career and life vanished without a trace on the night of October 7, 1949, when she was just 26 years old. Born in Seattle, she had slowly begun to make a name for herself in Hollywood, landing roles in films like When My Baby Smiles at Me and Chicken Every Sunday. That evening, she told her sister-in-law she was heading out to meet her ex-husband to talk about child support, followed by a late-night film shoot. She was never seen again. 2 days later, a chilling discovery was made. Her purse, found abandoned in Griffith Park, its strap torn, as if ripped away in a struggle. Inside was a cryptic note addressed to someone named Kirk, mentioning a visit to Dr. Scott. But the note only deepened the mystery. Speculation spiraled. Some believed Jean may have died during a dangerous, illegal abortion, common yet deadly in post-war Los Angeles. Others whispered about her ties to organized crime or even linked her to actor Kirk Douglas, though no concrete evidence ever surfaced. To this day, Jean Spangler's disappearance remains one of Hollywood's most haunting unsolved mysteries. A young star extinguished before she had the chance to truly shine, her story cloaked in rumor, tragedy, and unanswered questions. Number 19. Weldon Keys, the vanishing genius of the Beat generation. Weldon Keys was a rare kind of artist, brilliant, restless, and endlessly creative. A true Renaissance man of mid-20th century America, he made his mark as a painter, jazz pianist, filmmaker, and poet. His work captured the raw energy of a changing world, earning him a place among the cultural icons of the Beat generation, with his writings featured in revered publications like The New Yorker and Time. But behind the acclaim, Keys struggled with inner darkness. Battling severe manic depression, his mind often teetered between genius and despair. Then, on July 18, 1955, he vanished. His car was found abandoned near the Golden Gate Bridge, the engine still warm. Many believed he had leapt to his death. But no body was ever found. Close friends later revealed a chilling detail. Keys had spoken of two ways out, jumping from the bridge or vanishing into Mexico to start a new life. To this day, no one knows which path he chose. His disappearance remains one of art's great unsolved mysteries, casting a haunting shadow over a life that burned too bright and faded too soon. Number 20. Forrest Chab, the vanishing of Newh. Forrest Chab, better known by his stage name Newh, was a rising star in Canada's rap scene, a talent on the brink of something big. In early 2010, Billboard even named him one of the country's most promising up-and-coming artists, a nod to the bright future many believed awaited him. But just months later, that future vanished without a trace. In August of that same year, Newh made plans to travel to Mexico. He arrived, but never returned. By November 18, 2010, Canadian authorities had launched an official investigation into his disappearance, but despite their efforts, no answers ever came. The silence left behind only deepened the mystery. Speculation ran wild. Some believed Newh may have fallen victim to organized crime or drug-related violence. Others pointed to his emotional state, especially after being dropped by CP Records earlier that year, an industry blow that might have shaken his spirit more than anyone realized. To this day, Newh's fate remains an unsolved enigma, a haunting question mark over the life of a young artist whose potential was tragically cut short. If you're drawn to the hidden truths and untold stories of Hollywood's brightest and most mysterious figures, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next reveal.